questions?
Danny already acknowledged me.
Okay.
Danny, I have a question that's very limited. It's about education.
A little water.
Danny,
Yes, yes, I'm listening.
a number of months ago, the chancellor appointed a man to head the special ed at the board. Man has no experience in special ed. The special ed parents are up in arms. What, as a city council member, what would you do to stop that kind of?
I would make sure that anybody, including the chancellor, who comes into the New York City Board of Education is a trained educator. We cannot run the New York City school public system as a business. The business model does not work. These are children. How does he know what to do in the classroom? Okay? He has no idea. The chancellor has no idea what to do in the classroom. The chancellor says one thing out of one side of his mouth and then another thing with another. He says you have to do mini lessons, 10-minute mini lessons, right? Then he goes into a classroom and talks for an hour and a half. You know, and this is where you begin to say, I've had it up to here, all right? And then you begin to say, I'm going to put my foot down, and I'm going to speak out about it, okay? Because many people in the New York City public school system, including teachers, are afraid to speak out, okay? They're very intimidated. And what's the problem in the New York City public school system? The problem is that we have not been given the resources that we need to work with our children. The per-child, per-pupil spending is nowhere near what it is for surrounding suburban school districts, okay? It's approximately half of what they get in the other school districts. And then you combine that with the issue of overcrowding in the public schools and the fact that our students are much more needier because they come as immigrants. The whole immigrant experience is quite traumatic for them, okay? Plus they come with social needs in other areas of the city. And you can see that unless those issues are addressed, it's a recipe for disaster. And those things are not going on in the New York City public school system, particularly in special ed. And that also is a disability issue, because those children in special ed are not having their disability needs met.
Daniel,
I'd like to let Maureen.
Daniel, you made a
I
wonderful.
think she called on him then. Yeah.
You made a wonderful description about everything else, but how are you going to stop the proliferation of crime in the whole community? And by the way, it begins at times in the public schools.
Well, one of the I agree with you and I disagree with you a little bit. Let me just tell you where I'm coming from on that. This community has gotten so much better since the middle 80s because of people like you and because of the work that you have done here in this community. In the middle 80s, we had a very tough time in this community. We had a proliferation of drugs along Roosevelt Avenue. Pretty much a lot of that has been cleaned up. There's still some of it that goes on. So what I want to do is to put it into perspective. And what we do see happening in the community is a lot more gang activity that's going on. I know that there were concerns about people being followed home. I was just last night at the 115th Precinct Community Council meeting, where crime is down 7%, 7.6% from last month, okay? So crime is continuing to decline. But of course, our objective is to have no crime at all, and we must always strive for that. But I also want to approach it in a different way. A lot of the crime, in particular the gang activity that's going on here in the community, is by youth. Youth as young as 13, 12, 13, 14 years old. We saw the murders over there on 54th Avenue or 57th Avenue and 114th Street. We've seen a lot of increase in that type of activity. But yet, this community doesn't have a community center. It has no place for these kids to go. Okay, we do have some nonprofit organizations, but they're terribly underfunded. And that's one of the other things that I would do as the city council member. I would look at a reprioritization of the way that discretionary funding is handled in this community. And I would reinvest in this community. I don't believe that we should be sending money out to Manhattan or to other Queens-wide organizations when we have our own needs here in this community. And what we have lacked is imagination and creativity. I've heard from the current council member that there's no place to build a school in this community, and I totally disagree with that. We can build up, we can spread out, we can find places, we can come up with creative solutions to find those spaces that are necessary to build a community center and to build public schools. And on another issue, which is also related though. I have been endorsed, as I said, by Councilmember Julissa Ferreras and Assemblymember Jose Peralta. I have a working relationship with all of the elected officials in this area. I have an excellent working relationship. I've described some of the ways in which I've already worked with many of them here. I will continue to be able to work with everybody in the community. I think that I have a better record of working with people in the community, of bringing communities together.